back. It's a pleasure to always come here because you are a captive audience after all. So, let me just ask you, if you raise your hands, how many of you have seen the exhibition? Wow, that's fantastic. That's great. Okay, so for those of you who haven't seen it, we'll have a little competition afterwards for some questions. Maybe you can get a couple of tickets to go this weekend or next weekend. So, let me just give you a little bit of background on my job, then we'll talk about the exhibition, and then I'll open it up for questions all in the next 20 minutes or so. So, I'm the director of exhibitions and publications at the Milwaukee Art Museum, and I've been there for 15 years, as Elaine has said. Over that time, my job has shifted a bit. I was initially a curator, which meant that I organized the exhibitions. Now, I'm the director of exhibitions, which means I'm responsible for the exhibition program, putting it together, making sure we have a balanced, what I would call balanced exhibition schedule. I'm also responsible for the finances of the exhibitions. And that means both budgeting, and it also means fundraising for exhibitions. So it keeps me busy. And then every now and then, as with the Summer of China, I also remain or I also continue to have responsibility for the curatorial aspects, like the installation and that kind of thing. We do exhibitions to attract visitors to the museum. We also do it, and I think this is the more lofty goal, we do it because we feel through exhibitions we're able to bring different art forms, different cultures, diversity of cultures to Milwaukee. So that's actually something that's very important to me, and that's been a catalyst behind our Summer of China program. The one thing we have never done in our 123-year history is an exhibition of Chinese art. So for me, this was the one thing that was still missing, and it became a top priority for me to do an exhibition in our 10th anniversary of Chinese art. We had an incredible opportunity to do the Emperor's Private Paradise, and I'll show you some images of that. And then from there, we built it one exhibition at a time into a series of 5 exhibitions happening simultaneously, opening all at once on June 8th. So 5 exhibitions, and that became our Summer of China. The mayor was so excited by this that he actually proclaimed the summer of 2011 the Summer of China. So we actually have an official proclamation from the mayor that this is the Summer of China. We've done a number of lectures on different aspects of Chinese culture and diversity. We did a Chinese festival in July, working with our Chinese Community Center. And it has been an extraordinary opportunity for the museum. When we close the exhibition on September 11th, we will have a record number of attendees at the museum. Right now we're on track to have not only one of our top 5 exhibitions in the history of the museum, but it actually may be our 2nd best exhibition in the history of the museum. So I think that speaks really well to the Milwaukee community. I mean, it was a great financial risk for us. First, we didn't know whether we could raise the money. And then we didn't know whether people would actually be interested in Chinese art. And I think it speaks very well of the community and of Wisconsin that so many people have come to see great art from around the world. The works in the exhibition come from the Chinglong Garden. And in 1924, after the last emperor, Puyi, left the Forbidden City, the gates to the Chinglong Garden were closed. And simply no one went in. It was essentially left abandoned and shuttered for more than 75 years. And so during that time, it was forgotten. It was in a remote part of the Forbidden City. And what happened was a lot of things fell into disrepair. Imagine your own homes left abandoned for over 75 years. You can imagine what would happen. That's what happened in the Chinglong Garden. And it happened to the objects in the garden as well. So a major conservation project was started in 2001, and the works in this exhibition come out of that conservation project. So these objects are being seen by us in the United States before they're even being seen by the Chinese public, which is extraordinary. And at this moment, they're not slated to be on view until 2019. because that's how long they're estimating the conservation project to continue. So, the Chinglong Garden, let me just briefly tell you about that. Chinglong Garden is actually located in the Forbidden City in Beijing. The Forbidden City is 180 acres. The Chinglong Garden is just 2 acres. So it's quite small. It was a private garden meant for meditation and contemplation, and the emperor built it in the late 18th century for his retirement. Essentially, it was going to be his Camp David, his compound for retreat and retirement. He built the architecture in that 2-acre site, and imagine your own property and the acreage. 2 acres, it's not very big, but on this 2-acre site, there are 27 buildings and 5 rockeries. And if you're wondering what a rockery is, in the Chinese garden, essentially that is a pile of rock, which refers symbolically to the ancient mountains of China. So it is a symbolically charged symbol, has great meaning for the Chinese, and Chinese gardens are really quite different from gardens we have here in Wisconsin. If you think about your own garden here, it's probably marigolds and tulips, but in China, it's mountains or references to mountains, it's pine trees and bamboo and so forth. So this is a private garden filled with 27 buildings and 5 rockeries. How about down here?
How long did the planning for the China exhibit take?
The China exhibition was in progress and planning for about 2.5 years, which was very quick. Typically exhibitions, I like to plan 3 to 5 years out. So we're already working on our schedule for 2014. And particularly if you do the scholarly research and publications and all that kind of thing, it can be